Okay, well, instant reaction time. It is late at night on the East Coast as the Nuggets and the Timberwolves game has ended. Um, I actually wanted to do an instant reaction on Pacers Knicks as well as Nuggets Timberwolves, but in all honesty, I did not watch the Pacers Knicks game. Had a lot of stuff going on at with some family, and then I went and did some golfing. So I actually didn't get to see like 1 second of Pacers Knicks, which is really unfortunate. And then like I checked the score and I was like, whoa, 130 to 108. Okay, gotcha. And the game ended up 130 to 109. But obviously the Pacers, from what I saw, shot extremely well from the field. And Jalen Brunson then fractured his hand. And of course, like the story with the injuries with the Knicks and stuff like that. I mean, that's that's kind of a there's only so much you can do, right? There's only so much you can do with all the injuries the Knicks had all season. The Knicks were continuing to build up in the playoffs. There's only so much you could do. And then if you run into a Pacers team that likes to run and gun and they're hot, where it's just like, oh my gosh, we cannot get them to miss. That happens. So a good season to the Knicks. So I won't spend a lot of time on that because, like I said, I did not watch it. Nuggets and Timberwolves, however, I did watch it, and it's you really wonder if it was like the Nuggets came apart or Minnesota took it. And I do think it was a little bit of both, in just that sense that like there was definitely there were definitely times where like Minnesota like made some shots, right? They ramped up their defensive pressure. They did what they had to do. But like what people have to understand when watching these games is that it goes both ways. You can be perfect when you're down 20, you have to start playing really, really good basketball. But other things have to happen as well. Your opponent has to give you some stuff, some stupid turnovers, some missed layups, some missed open shots. That stuff still has to happen. Excuse me. That stuff still has to happen, even if you're playing well. So Jokic shot 2 for 10 from three tonight. 6, 7 of them, at least he was wide open. He couldn't buy one. Michael Porter Jr. couldn't buy one. So that stuff has to happen as well. I think that what's their coach's name? Oh God, whatever. Denver's coach. I think he coached a little tight tonight. Jokic playing 47 minutes is not. He does. That's not what you do. I'm not sure how you can find yourself up 20 points in the third quarter and have not found a way to get your star rest. Jamal Murray played 43. He had 35 points, 24 in the first half. Started turning the ball over. They ramped the pressure up, and it just got to the point where like you're watching the game and you're seeing Denver players, like you're seeing Christian Brown's playing 20 minutes. Like he's the only person that Mike Malone, there's his name, that Mike Malone trusts. Aaron Gordon, you start seeing guys scared to shoot the ball. Their offense got real stagnant. It was like, all right, Jokic can make a play. And it just felt tight. It's like once Minnesota, cut it to 14, cut it to 12, cut it to 9, cut it to 6, cut it to 4. Like it was just I felt like Mike Malone had a chance to have his players a little more fresh down the stretch when they're down 5 and they can't get an offensive rebound because they're double teaming Ant to get the ball out of his hands and have other guys make plays. It was one of those games, like if you've ever played basketball at a competitive level and like there's like this turning point in a game where you just know, even when you're playing, like you're still trying to win, but you kind of like know you're going to lose. Especially if you're coaching those games, because like when I started seeing like, oh, late in the shot clock, Mike Conley shooting a fadeaway, fading right. He's left-handed. There's a defender in his face. Cash. You see Rudy Gobert doing getting the turnaround shot at the buzzer. cash. You're watching like all this stuff. You're like, oh, I literally texted a friend of mine, and I was just like, oh yeah, no. The Minnesota's making those shots that you make when everything's going your way. And it's one thing when it goes your way in the first half, because once that stuff stops and your shoot shot percentage comes down and everything kind of averages out, that's where the game gets good. Like it gets where the game gets close. But they're doing this to end the game. Like, yeah, no. Then you can't get a rebound. Now you're making every shot. You're in foul trouble. You can't play as aggressive defense as you want because every foul they're going to the free throw line. They're making all their free throws. Like, they had about 3 or 4 of those, like, put your hand up. Okay, what are we supposed to do, right? The very same thing that the Lakers had against Denver last year, where Jokic is making step back off 1 foot threes with Anthony Davis's hand basically down his throat, cash money, no rim, nothing but net. Like, and you just throw your hands up like, all right, like, there's not anything else I can do. And that's what happened. A lot of people are going to give Anthony Edwards a lot of credit. I don't think that he played bad, because Denver said, this is how we're going to defend him. We want him getting the ball out of his hands. And, and even said after the game, so, coach was like, you need to play faster. You need to see the double team. You need to make the right play and trust your teammates. And so it was kind of a joint effort. So I don't think he played bad, but he had a stretch where he had 2 points. I think he ended the third quarter with like 10 points, but like 3 of them were dunks, 2 of which were off turnovers. Like, it's not like he was just taking over, like takeover time, but because he's kind of the golden boy, this is what's going to happen. So now, but like if LeBron James does that, if 6 for 24, 2 for 10, it's not going to matter that he had 4 possessions. Like he had a buzzer beating 3 and had 3 dunks, 2 of which off of turnovers on fast breaks. Like, that's not going to matter. You're going to kill him. So like, I don't think that Anthony Edwards, even though it is kind of the trend that he is the guy, because he is about that life. Jay McDaniels, 23 points tonight, 3 for 4 from 3. Karl Anthony Towns, 23 and 12, even though he was in foul trouble. Rudy Gobert, 13 and 9, he did foul out. Naz Reid. Can't say enough about Naz Reid. It seems like he's the only person that understands, like, it's like he's the only person that watches film and knows, like, oh, the second Jokic turns, I know exactly where the ball's going to be. And he blocks it every time. Like, I don't, like, it's, can't, 6th man of the year, but then it's what he's doing on the defensive end. Like, you don't look at him and say, oh, Gobert's out, Cat's in foul trouble, let's go to Naz Reid, and he's going to be the one that's going to keep Jokic in check. You just don't expect that. So, Minnesota and Dallas. I'm not, sorry, before I even go to that, this is where, it was kind of like, we just chose Denver because, I mean, we for good reason. They earned the right for us to just kind of default to them. But in reality, this is why, like, making the finals is hard. Winning the finals is even harder, but making the finals is hard. I think they said that the champion has not made it past the second round the following year in the last 5 years or something like that. And Denver didn't make it this year. The year before that, who won the year before Denver? Wow. Golden State? I don't know. Long story short, I'd have to go back and look into that. But the point is, it's hard. We watched LeBron go to the finals however many years that was straight. 8 or something like that. 7, 8 years in a row. And like, we just kind of thought that, oh, okay, well, if you got the best player, you're going to the finals. No, it's hard to go to the finals. So that kind of shows it. You're mentally drained. You're playing all the way till June. And then you got to come back. You got the target on your back. You're no longer the guys who are trying to get over the hump. So it's just kind of different expectations, and it's hard. And you had game 7 at home, and you had a 20-point lead, and you blew it. So now you got Timberwolves and Mavericks, because remember, the Thunder were also up 15, 17 points on the Mavericks in Dallas. Dallas came all the way back. It's gonna be a hell of a series. The Timberwolves are gonna have Luka frustrated. We already know he gets real frustrated with the referees. They're gonna have Luka frustrated. It'll be interesting to see if he like feeds off that frustration that gives him that juice to where he goes crazy, or if it's the frustration that makes him upset and he can't get his game. Like, it'll be interesting to see what kind. Ant's already said, like, oh yeah, Kyrie's my matchup, so I hope to see what I can do for him. Like, so I'm excited to watch it. I did think Denver was going to pull this out. You think there's something for championship DNA. I will say, Jaden McDaniels tried to like throw it off the ground and like do a dunk at the end of the game. When the game is over, this is that unwritten rule thing where people are like, oh, you shouldn't be trying to score. I personally don't think too much of it. I do hope that the Timberwolves don't become the Grizzlies, because this definitely gives me like 2-3 years ago Grizzlies feelings. How like, oh, we loved Ja when he was, jumping out the gym and this, that, and the third, and the Grizzlies were that gritty, young team. And then, the Grizzlies just got annoying real quick. Like, I hope that the Timberwolves don't get that way, because I like them right now. But yeah, I mean, Timberwolves are younger. I think the Nuggets did see losing Bruce Brown hurt, right? They could have definitely used another person who wasn't scared to take a shot, and not just take a shot, like take big shots, made big shots. They really could have used Bruce Brown tonight. I still don't understand not trusting your bench. But even if you look at their roster, it's like, okay, well, who would they have brought in, right? Typically, when Jokic sits, Aaron Gordon's at the 5. They don't bring DeAndre Jordan in. Like, that's not something that happens. Zeke Naji, I don't think he plays very often. So I guess there's not really a lot of options anyway. Just as I'm looking at the roster here, but I don't know, man. It felt like once the game was getting out of control, you could see it snowballing, and anybody who's played basketball before like just knows what that is. And then all of a sudden, you got the Minnesota's making every shot, and they're making the shots that like they're throwing up because then the shot clock. Meanwhile, Denver's missing point blank layups in and out, like wide open or rimming out. You got wide open threes going in and out. Like, it's just like, okay, got it. And and usually when you're at home, it's the other way around. But Minnesota traveled well. I think their fans traveled well, so they had some pretty good energy. And they're up, man. They're up, and shout out to them. It was a good season for Denver. Minnesota moves on. Defense wins championships, is what they say. I'm not going to spend a lot of time even really talking about the East, because Boston and Indiana. Well, let's see if Indiana can make this a thing. But there's not really a lot for me to say about the East. This is kind of going as expected. Boston should walk through it. They won the first series in 5. They should win the second series in 5. They won the second series in 5, and then they probably should win the third series in 5 or 6. Yeah. So most of my talk with the NBA will be on the West, and then we'll probably get into, as far as the main pod, probably get into others from stuff. Let's see if I can do a little bit more instant reactions. I'm going to do instant reactions about the East, because I think the games are alternating. The East-West conference finals are alternating, and the East, they don't play as late. So I can actually get those in and still get to bed at a decent time. So I will talk about it. It just won't nearly be as much. A lot of my stuff will be regarding the West, because I find that the more intriguing matchup, the Dallas and Luka with Ant and the Timberwolves and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there it is. There's your instant reaction. My take on the game, as I'll sleep on it, maybe watch some highlights, and maybe even rewatch not the whole game, the moments, and maybe see if my opinions, certain things like that change. And we're in for a great At least Western Conference Finals. East, I can't speak for, but Western Conference Finals, I'm excited. I'm excited.